Yo. Honestly, I don't know how long the stream's gonna last. And I'll tell you why. There is insane thunder and storms and insanity going outside. By Mother Nature herself. She's on a rampage. And I think one of her goals is to take out my power and my internet. So, if at any point I disappear, it was fun hanging. But what are we doing? This is gonna be another huge like left turn stream where this isn't something we've ever really done before, but we're gonna do it. I've kind of so I've been addicted to EverQuest, right? And I can't help but think how fun this type of game would be in the way that it's built in VR. It would be insanely awesome. So look, Beamy have hardly hello wolf. Uh hardly much skill, but some in game development and asset design and all these other things. But why don't we just try and make some core mechanics that might be fun and see if we can get them working? This is probably going to be painful, okay? And if we make any sort of progress, I'll be happy. So, what are things that I want working? I want decent melee, okay? And I want magic, okay? I gotta pick one of these to focus on. Melee might be the more easy thing to focus on. We're gonna try and make some VR stuff in Unity. So look, let me start with showing you what I've got so far, okay? Hold on. All right, so keep in mind one of the most annoying things if anyone's ever sat down to try and make anything, yes, Wolf, is that you just want to be able to move around in your environment and have basic controls, but doing that is like for someone who's not experienced with it is painstakingly difficult. It's like, dude, I just want to move around. Sweet Ree, did it work? I just want to move around. And like getting the code working to just have like movement is difficult. So last night I was working on it and like I got directional sliding movement working in VR. But it was not relative to any sort of position. So forward was always just a generic forward regardless of which direction I looked. And we just had to fix that with code to make it relative to headspace and things like that so we can have our standard movement. So we got that down. But it took a lot of time. And then, so let me just hop in and show you. Okay, look, this is a classic beginner Unity scene where you just have a big white plane to walk around on and nothing else. All right. So remember, this is just, I need bare bones skeletons working so that I can build things on top of it. So I got the bare bones skeleton stuff working last night. And it took some time, but let me show you. My sensor is not plugged in. Let me go plug it in. Part of Fears, not fear. Loves what you deserve. Can you imagine someone singing about fears what you? Okay. Hello. So, look, I'm in Unity and VR. Okay, ignore these big giant links. Both hands are tracking position wise. I just wanted to see distance. I can move and it works relative to action. I have some basic physics work. So we could pick stuff up, we can throw it. Great, fantastic. I've got the VR rig set up. Our collider follows our headset well. Good stuff. So just basic bare bones stuff. But now it's time to get specific. Now that things are actually working in the engine with VR, it's time to get specific. And I think we focus on trying to make one core mechanic work well. Okay? And be fun. And I don't even really know where to start with this, but I feel like we should start with one of these two things. All right, so let's scrap magic for now, and let's focus on melee. Okay, so how do we want melee to work? Okay, right? You got a fucking hitbox, right, of an enemy. This is a bad guy. He's mad, right? And then you have an item, let's just call it like a sword, that passes through, okay? And we need it to detect when this blade collides with the enemy's hitbox, right? Oh, cool. It's working, Ree. So how do we do this? Well, we need an identifier, a collider, on the weapon itself. Okay. And then we can use that to detect when it's entered. Should we be generic about like an enemy collider? Probably. Or just anything that's hittable. Like maybe can damage. You can call that collider. Right? And then we don't want like we won stuff. Okay? We don't want people to be able to just go, you know, shake their hand in there and do a bunch of damage. So how can we figure that out? We could calculate the velocity and have a threshold of velocity that allows minimum damage when that minimum velocity is hit. What these values are, I'm not sure. We're going to have to just swing a bunch and check the velocity levels. But how do you calculate velocity itself? Well, if I remember correctly, we just need 2 points, okay? We need 2 points to measure the data in between, right? So if I have, let's say the blade enters here and exits here, we can take this first collision as like a distance measurement. So let's say, what's up, Wooby? Yeah, so we just need 2 points. And we just have a time in between these, right? So when this starts, you know, whatever, our time is 0. And then it travels for some distance, right? And we can measure the distance between these 2 points with code. And then we have an out time, right? Let's say it went through in like 0.5 seconds, right? Okay. So then you do that math, exactly what Hoovy said. Or we could just take these 2 points. It still didn't log my link. Oh, okay. You'll figure it out. And with those 2 points, we should be able to do some math to calculate velocity. And then we can set that minimum threshold, right? So how does that actually work out? Can my brain figure it out, especially with lack of sleep? Okay. So let's do sword collisions here. So on collide, enter. We gotta do some stuff. Should I just type? Can I like type in here? Okay. Oh, I need my brain to work right now. We have a collider. When it enters the enemy, we need to start a timer. Start timer. And then on exit collider, end timer. And then, let's see. Velocity is delta. What is it again? For fuck's sake. Change over position, which is delta S, over change in time. So distance divided by time, right? Equals velocity. So then we take our start timer and also set start measurement point. And then on collider exit, we end the timer and set end measurement point. And then how do we measure the distance between those two given points? I guess I can just type that out for now. Measure distance between points. And then we can store that into... Let's come up with some variables. Fuck, how do I edit this again? Oh, fuck. Why am I using Paint to do this? Can I not, like, reopen this text box? Measure distance between points. We can just call this... We could just be simple. We'll call it distance. And then... we need to figure out the time elapsed. Time elapsed between points equals... We'll just call it time. Right? And then we do time divided by distance equals velocity, right? And then we can check that velocity. So like we can do like an if statement. If, you know, velocity is greater than or equal to some value. We don't know what this is yet. We'll have to figure out how hard we can actually swing in VR. Then like do damage. Maybe we should start small first, actually. Oh, enjoy your ad break. Yeah, we should start small because we need to check the small ones first. So if velocity is less than no damage value, then do no damage. And then we could have like, I don't want it to be, fuck. Okay, if it's greater than equal of a certain velocity to do damage, we also want to do damage according to some multiplier. Do damage time like velocity multiplier. Because I want this to be not like, okay, let's take Zenith as an example. Zenith basically has like 2 different stages of damage. Maybe 3. They've got basically little to no damage because you were attacking too quick and fast. They have you waited the proper amount of time, but maybe it was a weak swing, so you do a light hit, and then the other one is you've waited enough time and you do a hard swing, so you get the full big damage, right? So those are just like stock 3 different kind of categories, but I want the damage that is above a certain velocity threshold to actually deal damage, to have a multiplier on how hard you swung. So it's analog, it's a range, right? It's not just a set value, meaning you could swing hard enough to do damage and do decent damage, or you could swing even harder or anywhere in between, and it will adjust the damage you do based on your swing strength, right? So how we can do that is just do weapon damage times velocity. Some velocity multiplier. We'll have to calculate this multiplier based off the velocity numbers we get. But I think this works in theory. So the big thing in coding and like just getting stuff done is just write it down kind of in plain English and like see if it makes sense flow wise, and then we can move on to coding, because we don't want to code something that doesn't make sense on paper. But I think this is the bare bones way of how we can calculate velocity on swings and then assign damage appropriately based off of velocity, and have that damage analog rather than digital. That makes sense. So that means we need, let's hop into Unity and try and test some of this basic stuff. Is there anything else I'm forgetting? There is going to be extra stuff about like we need to decide like weapons skill modifiers, because I would like there to be skill ups that affect hit chance. But I don't, this is going to take a while to design. But basically you have like let's just use like one hand slash as an example. So one hand slash, right? Can be a value of 0 to like, I don't know, 255 or something. Just some arbitrary number for skill. And these level up. You'll skill up as you swing weapons of that category. Skill up from swinging weapons of this category. Successful hits generate more skill ups. Misses much less. And then based off of that, there needs to be like, okay, now this is going to sound weird in VR, but I kind of want to see what happens if you follow like really, really traditional. Yeah, there can be armor set bonuses, damage percent ups, all sorts of things. But let's focus on just the weapon skill modifiers. Um, it's gonna feel kind of weird in VR, swinging and knowing you landed a swing, but it actually missing. Like it being considered a miss, even though visually you hit it just fine. But I kind of want to see what that kind of progression feels like in VR. So this means, like, let's say you have 0 skill and one hand slash, but you get a cool weapon that's like the short sword that falls into that category. And you're like higher level. Well, you're gonna start swinging that thing, and you're gonna be missing all the time, even though you're colliding with the thing. It's gonna say like miss over their head, right? You're gonna be missing a ton, but you keep swinging, boom, you'll get your first skill up, then your second, then your third, and then the higher your skill, the more likely your blows will actually land, and you'll get damage modifiers based off of that. So it kind of gives a reason to like practice different styles of weapons and level them up and be good at certain different things, even though it's in VR. Exactly. Like you could have a visual cue wolf of like, the enemy dodging, like he dodges it. Because we need to somehow emulate the idea that you're clunky at swinging something you've never swung before in VR. Even though maybe you physically can do it because we're using, virtual reality controllers. So we want to say like skill directly affects hit chance, and then skill directly affects damage range. Okay, so let's say, for example, let's say you've got this, I don't know, you got this new triangle sword, beefy boy, right? Let's say the weapon damage is stated at like 6. Okay, it's just got a base value of damage 6. Well, we need a range when you're at 0 to where you can do basically, it's potentially from 0 damage up into, I don't know, max level. What do you do? Double it? You can do like 0 to 12 damage based off of your skill. So at the beginning, and you can imagine like, an experience bar, progress bar. This is all the skill ups you're gaining over time. The more skill ups you have, the more likely you're going to be hitting on the higher end, the 12s. Whereas when you first start out, you're going to be hitting 0s, 1s, 2s, like maybe you get really lucky on a roll and you hit a 6, but more often than not, you're going to be hitting on the lower end if you're on the lower end of the skill. And then exact opposite for the high end of the skill. Does that make sense? So that there's some sort of progression in using different types of weapons, and not just like, you can kind of equip whatever you want. Like you got to kind of work on it and skill it up and level it up, and not just rely on your overall level for that kind of stuff. I think that's cool. It adds a lot of tiny progression in. So let's say like 0 to whatever max damage is for weapon. Just want to specify that. Right? You guys got to go tell Hoobi that he gave me the wrong. V2 minus V1 is not the calculation for velocity. And then he said idiot, and then and he was the one wrong. You gotta go tell him. Someone tell Hoobi. Don't let him live that down. Um, let's see here. So weapon skill modifiers, we have our range kind of explained. We have hit chance. And I think that's kind of it. And the reason we went through that is because we want to add some sort of math. So basically, we need to roll like a random dice. We need to do a random number generator that gets a modifier based off your skill level to determine how much damage you're doing, or if you don't do any damage and you miss. So what does that equation look like? God, I don't know. Can we figure it out though? Let's see. So we have probably base damage, which is your base weapon damage. Times damage bonus equals damage dealt. And then base damage we already figure out from the weapon damage. So that's just like what's on the weapon itself. So base damage equals just the weapon damage. Wolf says get a random noise plane with an intensity matching the skill level and then generate random coordinates. That's a very intricate way to roll a random, like, do a random number generator. I like how you're thinking, though. That's super out of the box. And the dense coordinates on the point of the play, the more damage you do. Yeah, that's essentially what we're going to be doing with just numbers and not a noise plane. But it does the same exact thing that you're talking about. It's a very interesting way to do the same thing. And there's no wrong answers here, really. Like, you can calculate the same thing so many different ways. All right, thanks, Reet. I'll see ya. So base damage is that. Bonus damage is going to be a bit of a complicated equation. Because we can take a number. What if you take a number? Maybe we just... I think we need a multiplier so we can get into the negatives. Because if the damage bonus rolls a 0, then it just takes, 6 times 0 and brings us at 0. That's our miss, right? But we also need, like, what's our range? I think it needs to go up to 2. So 0 to 2. So we need to roll a random number between 0 and 2. So some number between 0 and 2. Calculate a number between 0 and 2, but how? Thank you, Ree. Let me drink some of this. Okay, what are the... Let me, like, narrow this down instead of trying to put it all together. So the pieces we have... is weapon skill. A number from 0 to 255-ish. And then we have... Gosh, we have velocity too. I forgot about that. We have weapon skill. Is that it? Is that all I need to deal with? Is the weapon skill determines the number between 0 and 2? I think that is it. We could add modifiers like strength and all these other things, but let's just get this base thing working. We can worry about like strength modifiers later. And like dex modifiers. Weapon skill. Is that it? That calculates this number between 0 and 2? I think it is. Then we can just set a range. We basically need to say at 0, and then everywhere in between the 255, there needs to be a % chance that gets greater as you go up the scale of rolling a 2. So, man, my brain's dying. Velocity times damage balance plus variables equals damage output. I need to figure out how to calculate this. Makes a % more likely to roll a 0 or a 2. Okay, so let's just start at the beginning. If you're at 0 skill, you can't be guaranteed to miss. There has to be some sort of base chance to actually land a hit. Okay? So, what do we think? Like as low as 10%? A 10% chance to hit at 0? And then 255. We don't want it guaranteed, but we want it really likely. Maybe like a 98% chance. And then everything in between there as you skill up. And I feel like this later end should flatten, like, it shouldn't be an even curve from 10% to 98% as you skill up. It should get drastically better as like think of it like a curve that more looks like this and then kind of flattens out at the end, right? Where this is like 255 skill and this is 0. So you get a lot of % up bonuses early on, right, as you practice, and then you just kind of get those extra kind of sweet percentages at the end, like, you know, the difference between, let's say this is like 125. The difference between 125 and 255 in value gain. Make a graph. Is like, you know, like 5 to 10%. Whereas like the difference between 0 to 125 is like massive, right? This is like it's like 90%. 90? Like 88. Yeah, definitely soft caps would be important at certain ranges based off of your level. Oh, I forgot my face is kind of in the way here. I'm gonna move up here. Yeah, Wolf Ruler, you're thinking of the right things. How do I generate a I need to generate a curve like this. What is this? This is oh my god, can I remember my math days? This is trigonometry, right? Generating a curve like this. What are these curves called? I forget. Sine? No. It's like a parabola, but sideways. What are these called? Because we want one of these and we just take the top positive half values. Right? Of course I drew it where like where my face is. What are those called? Trigonometry curves. Because I think we need to generate one of these. Cosine looks kind of close, not really. Where's all of them? I want to see them all. These. Probably closest to these, which is secant and cosecant. Cos. Even cotangent's pretty similar. Probably a cotangent curve would be good. Because this has the nice ramp upwards and it flattens afterwards. Fuck, I don't remember how to calculate this shit. But I think the cotangent is what we need. Okay, before we get into all the damage stuff, then we go further down this rabbit hole. Let's see if we can just get the collision entering and exiting and generating velocity. Let's see if we can get that working. Keep in mind, we are going to be stumbling through this. I don't remember how to do this shit, but we'll try and figure it out. Okay, so first things first, we need a weapon to play with. Now, I'm not going to sit here and make an actual weapon. We're just going to take a cube and we're going to scale it down into a nice stick. Okay? I think we need to set the anchor point somewhere else. I forget how to do that. There's a way to set anchor point. Give me a quick sec. Okay. Anchor point. Does it matter? It does. Because I need this to be a grabbable object that we can test. We probably don't want it to have an actual physical collider. Okay, so let's add XR grabbable interactable. This should let us pick it up. We want to calculate probably just instantaneous movement because I don't want it colliding with stuff and stopping. We can have it have gravity. We want think that's fine. I don't think we need the box collider to be a trigger. Okay, so we have a tiny weapon, and then let's name it. And then we need something to hit. Let's add. We could do a. What do I want? I think we'll do a capsule. Capsule's kind of a nice torso-looking body thing. Okay. And this is going to be a trigger collider. I'm remembering how this stuff works. Because we should be able to check on enter and on exit. And then, God, I don't even know how to get damage numbers as a UI to show up overhead. I'll have to put like some sort of text plane over their head and then print numbers out to it. Or I could generate it on the fly and have them float upwards. But I basically need the values of the velocity to come out so I can take a look at them. I could print them to maybe the console and just look at them there. But okay. How big is this thing? Can we take a look? Probably massive. How does this? So yeah, it's picking up at the anchor point. I think if I can change the anchor, I could grab it low. Because right now it's just grabbing at the. Let's shrink the size of the capsule. We'll try and set the anchor for the weapon a little better. So we'll scale this down a bit. How do we move the anchors? I forget how this works in Unity. There's like a. Oh. Can I make like a child object, a parent object? Create empty parent. And then I use that. Fuck, I don't remember. I should just look it up. Let me pull this out. So we move this game object to where I want it to hold. And then I could probably change the angle of the grab. We just rotate it 45 degrees. The Z axis to see what it looks like. And then I parent it. So this is the weapon collider, and this is the grab point. I don't know if it's gonna grab. Maybe I add this as the grabbable. Let me delete this. Oh, this is. I guess I can make a grab point. I want it to be the whole object. Hold on, my brain's processing. Get some rest then, Ray. You can fall asleep to this if you want. Okay, hold on. Brain work. I'm gonna delete this. Let's remove the grabbable components. I want the box collider. There's got to be a way to just set the anchor, and I'm just forgetting how. Let me just look it up. Are you guys ready? Let's learn about anchor points. I can't hear anything. What? Hello? What the fuck's happening? Why is the audio only playing through my headset? That's odd. Just switch these back and forth.
You want to select the top left actual anchor point, and it won't make it any different.
Wait, what?
Hey guys, I've got a really short tutorial today about Unity UIs, and sometimes when you're making your Unity UI, you'll see that the UI is not always positioned in the best place possible.
Oh no, is it showing me anchor points of UI?
That when you change
I don't want UI anchor points. I need, yes, I need this. This is going to be ancient. Just show me how to do it. Making a health bar. No, I don't want that.
You will notice that it scales from the middle. Yep, there you go. It is scaling. To make it smaller, it will actually scale on both ends.
Changing the pivot. Just show me that part.
So essentially, a game object will always be transformed from its center. It doesn't matter what sprite it has or what box collider is attached to it. The transformations are always done from the origin.
Just tell me how.
Of width, and we're using 512 as pixels per unit. So that means the actual size on our game engine is 1 unit. So if the sprite is 1 unit and we shift it by 0.5, you can see that the pivot on the parent is exactly on the left side. And now
so he is doing a parent.
How much you shift will depend on the scale. In this case, let's see the texture. The texture is 512 of width, and we're using 512 as pixels per unit. So that means the actual size on our game engine is 1 unit. Have exactly the same thing happening. However, by moving the child, we can essentially change the pivot of the transformations when we transform the parent. So in order to achieve our desired effect of scaling from right to left, let's shift the inner bar sprite to the right. Now in here, how much you shift will depend on the scale. In this case, let's see the texture. The texture is 512 width, and we're using 512 as pixels per unit. So that means...
Why do people talk so much? I just tell me what to do without all the guff. You can change the anchor, aka the mesh pivot, directly. You can't. People often want to do so that the object rotates around a different location, and then what is this $sign anonymous? The solution is either parent the object to a new empty game object and offset by the desired amount. Or modify the pivot point of the original 3D app. However, in your case, it sounds like you're trying to make fine adjustments. So it is just make a... So it's what I'm doing. I just want to make sure. Okay. Because now that we have the pivot point here, you see what rotates down on that angle instead. I just need the thing to be pick-upable still. Which means I'm going to need... some sort of box collider to interact with. So if I'm gonna make a box collider, hold on, let me undo these things. Let me set it back to 0. And then we'll add a box collider. And we'll scale this puppy down to whatever it is. inaccurate math. Because this will basically be what you can aim the pointer at and still pick up the object from range at. Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And I feel like I could do the pivot point somehow a little bit easier. Why use so many word when few word do trick? Isn't that from Family Guy? Welcome back. No worries about the dogs. You know what I could do is I could just make the collider for picking it up on the hilt. Okay, so if it's straight on like this, let's add the, what's it called? Grab. It should be this grab interactable. We'll add that. Let's try instantaneous movement. And then let me check the angle on that. Do we want gravity? Yeah, gravity's fine. This thing might explode. Ah! Collider. Let me see what the angle. It's because I have two colliders inside of each other. So hold on. Well, I want to know what's happening when... Oh, I can't. I need them side by side. We need to get rid of... Oh, they're not parented? I forgot to parent it. Let's call this game object tilt. And then we have the weapon inside. Let's get rid of the rigid body on the regular weapon. Yep. Get rid of this. And then remove the rigid body. We'll keep the box collider. Let me see if that stays. Did you see it fall through the world? There it is. Hello, stick. Okay, let's look at the rotation and see if it picks up at the new. Okay, so it's picking up on the new hilt area, so that's good. And it looks like we want things probably EX. I don't know what. Maybe about 40 degrees. The rest of it doesn't have a collider, so it's like hanging. All right. So moving the anchor point worked. We have a better hilt here. And then now let's just change the angle. So we're going to unparent this. And I think we're going in the Z direction. I think that's right. So we're going to rotate Z probably 45 degrees. No, that's not right. Is it X? I think it's that. Which means I need to change the box collider's rotation. Can I not? Wait, what? I can't rotate the box collider? It's stuck to the rotation of the original game object. There's got to be a way, right? You can change the center point. That's kind of annoying. Let me see what that at least looks like though, that angle, 45. Anymore. I broke it. I break it. All I did was rotate it. Oh, I never parented it. This love's what you deserve. Diggy. Oh, what the fuck? Did you see that? Why is it all wonky? Like, totally took the change. What the? I broke something. So why is it when I'm parenting it, it's taking all the shit? Don't do that. I parent the opposite way. Fear is just a part. As soon as I parent it, it goes nuts. Parent it that way. I don't think they'll directly affect each other now. Will they? I kind of forget how parenting works. Oh, let me see if I can pick this up. No, I'm doing something wrong here. God damn. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. Like, especially when you don't know what you're doing. Like, trying to get something simple, like just changing the grab access point and point of rotation is just like... We could spend an hour just doing this. I'm doing something wrong here, obviously. Love's what you deserve. Because this definitely needs to be parented inside. But why does it absorb all the rotational values? What I want to know. I'm doing parenting wrong. Let me take a look at this XR grab interactable module, the script. I might be able to just change it here. Okay, so what do we got here? We got an interaction manager. We got a mask layer. We have colliders. Colliders to include when selecting interact with. This interactable if empty will use any child colliders. And then we have distance calculation. Custom reticle. We have mode. The selection policy, either single selection with swapping allowed or single select with interaction allowed. I feel like I should move. We have gaze configuration. Movement, retain transform parent. Turn off. Whether to set the parent of this object back to its original parent. This object was a child after this object is dropped. Very weird. Oh, I see. It can disconnect the two when you pick it up. Track position, smooth position, track rotation, smooth rotation, throw on detach, throw smoothing, velocity, force gravity on detach, attach transform. Yes, this is what we want. Okay, through the hilt. Delete. Okay, take our weapon. We need to put the grab interactable here. We want. Well, I should be able to make an empty game object here. And just move it to where I want the grab to be. I wonder if rotating it here would also do the trick. Which way do we want to go? Where do I think is forward? It's the Z, right? Z is our depth. We want 45 degrees forward. Maybe we can set that in there too. So the attachment point Unity uses on this interactive will use this object's position if none is set. So we call this game object attach point. They probably need to be parented in some way to each other. Let me throw this under weapon, see if we can do that. And then we give the attach point game object in there. And hopefully that should allow us to do it and grab it there. Secondary attach transform. Use the second for multi-hand interactions. Okay. Use dynamic attach. Enable to make the effective attachment point based on the pose of the interactor when the selection is made. Attach ease and time. Attach point compatibility mode. Grab transformations. What are these? Whether Unity will add the default set of grab transformers if either the single or multiple grab transfers are empty. I think this is for two-handed grabs. Single-handed grab transforms. The grab transforms that this interactable automatically links at startup. Optional, maybe empty. All right, let me see what that does. Vimo, stop. Hey. Okay. So I rotated the wrong way. Z is not right. So the y-axis will rotate forward 40. But that worked. Perfect. We just need to adjust some value. So let's adjust. So let's change this. So y should probably be 45, right? No, that's just going to spin it. X 45. Yeah? Yeah. Okay, so we need negative 40. Getting closer, though. Figuring out the values. Negative. And finally, have an angle tilt. Better. Not exactly right. 45 is a little too good. But we have something that's grabbable. That attaches at the better point. And now we can start doing some math as we swing through it and out of it. And there's no use in wasting your time clean anymore. All right. So let's try 30 degrees. Timo, you are going ham, boy. He's a cute boy, though. Look at him. You can't see him. He's just off cam, but he's getting his face rubbed so good right now. Okay, so cool. That worked. We need to remember that. Now let's start doing some coding stuff. So we have this as trigger. And we're going to be swinging at that. And then I need to figure out how to print values to the debugging log. All right, you guys want to know? We're going to try something, okay? Let's see if AI can help us with this code. Are you ready? Test it. You think it can? Maybe. Ding 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 doo 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 doo. Dee 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 doo. Anymore. Boo boo boo. All right, so we need to type this out in a way that it'll understand what we want. We need to be very, very, very clear here. Very, very clear. ChatGPT gave you a chicken recipe that is now in your top 3. Yes, it can help. Lol. All right, that's pretty good. That's very good praise for this. Need to be very clear and specific. And I have a cat running around like crazy right now. We've got problems. Oh, my upload speed's dropping right now. All right, so where's my paint? Let's bring this up. We'll go side by side. So, in Unity, using C#, create the following code. So, check always to see if a weapon collider enters any collider labeled can damage. Okay. When this happens, when the weapon collider enters, start a timer. and make note of the position of entry. When the weapon collider exits the can damage collider, stop the timer. And make note of the exit position. Use the time to calculate. Hi, Chankla. Use the time to calculate. Calculate the time spent inside of the collider. And measure the distance between the entry and exit point. Use this information to calculate velocity. Store the velocity in a variable labeled velocity. All right, let's see what it cooks up. My internet's dying. Yes, Teamy is just out of frame down here. You figured it out, Ree? Nice. Are you home, Chunkla? It's generating code. Let's see if it works. Okay, I'm gonna scrub through the code. I have some code knowledge, so let me take a look and see what it does. Because I needed to have been clear. Maybe I wasn't very clear. This is kind of messy here, but let's see here. So, we have some variables here. We have a string, which is just text. Public string can damage. Collider tag to check for damage. So we're going to make sure to add this tag to all of our colliders that we want to calculate velocity and damage numbers off of. I'm just doing some theory crafting and tiny Unity work. I want to just kind of play with some Unity stuff and see if I can get some base like VR mechanics working. Yeah, it added comments. Public float velocity. So this is a variable to store the calculated velocity. Perfect. We have another float for time inside, so we can store how much time was spent inside the collider here, which is perfect. Good naming convention too. We have a private Boolean, which is just a true or false statement. We're going to default set it to false, so it's doing this. Flag to check the weapon collider is inside the can damage collider. Perfect. We get a vector 3, which is just an X, Y, and Z point. And we can set our beginning position there. So it's the entry into the collider. And then private float. I think we're missing another vector 3 for the exit position. We'll see how it did it. We can always add that ourselves, but and then we have another float for entry time of entry into the collider. Yeah, so this is kind of my bad in wording it, but let's see what it did. So it's gonna do a private void function of on trigger enter collider other. So if other.compare tag is can damage tag, so it's checking to see if the collider has the can damage tag. If it's inside, then we set the Boolean to true. And then we calculate, or we figure out what the position is of that entry. Okay? And then we set the time for when it entered. And then when it exits that collider, the can damage collider, it says if inside, only calculate velocity if the weapon collider was inside the damage collider. Kind of interesting. I'm not sure why it's doing this. But it's saying if inside, then it's going to start calculating things. The vector 3 exit position equals transform position. And then we have a float for the exit time. Good. And then we have time inside equals exit time minus entry time. Perfect. That's what we want. And then velocity equals that vector 3 distance of the... So it's measuring the distance between two vector 3 points. And then those two are the exit position and the entry position. And then we divide that by time inside. That's exactly the velocity formula. And then we set is inside to false. And we're good. So we have velocity. So I want to print this out. I forget how to print to our debug log. So Unity C# print to console. Let me see if I can find an answer real quick. But on the surface, it looks like there's a few little kind of hiccups in the code, but it might work out of the box. So let's give it a try. Can I put this in here, please? So let's figure out how to print that velocity value so we can take a look at it and see if it's calculating right based off of light swings, heavy swings, and etc. Your plans fell through for today. What time do you want to start then? Because I was planning around 9, because that's when you said earlier. And I was just gonna fuck around with this until then. I do have something to do at 8, as long as my plans don't fall through as well. But let's see. So debug.log. You can format messages with strings connecting text plus my text.text. Okay. So it is just debug.log. So we're going to add this ourselves. Okay, we're going to take this. Actually, hold on. We need to open up. We need to make a new script and write this stuff down. And then we want to know, where are we going to put the script that calculates the damage? Because right now... Right now, it's checking on trigger enter collider other. So this needs to go on the weapon then. If I'm looking at this correctly. So let's go to our weapon here. And we need to use this weapons box collider. So we do it on the parent here. So let's add a script here. We'll do a new script. We'll name it what do we name it? Well, we need to name it what ChatGPT named it, or else it's not going to work. It's called Weapon Collider. So we're going to name it that. I'll do that. Create an ad. And then we'll open this up in Visual Studio. And we'll start tweaking. So let's copy this. And we'll go ahead and paste it. Good, it's labeled right. We got our variables. All we want to do is in here, we're going to just print the velocity out. Okay, so it was debug.log, and then I believe brackets, and then we'll do velocity, colon, space, space, and then we'll do... I believe it's plus, and then we do just velocity. And it should grab that variable for us. We'll end it. And I think that's right. I think that's it. So we'll save this. And then we'll see if we get any messages out. If we get it first try, I think it crashed. Did it just crash? No. Okay. If we get this first try, fantastic. I doubt it though. I doubt we're gonna get this first try. But let's see what happens. So I'm gonna leave the console open for you guys, and I want you to know. I want you to yell at me. Let's delete this other camera. I want you to tell me if it's printing anything out here. I'll move my face. Let's go over here. Okay? It should print those values here. We gonna get it first try? I don't know. Because if we know that we can calculate velocity, then we can move on to the next. I'm gonna hit my monitor. Okay. Ooh, the rotation feels good too. That's like 30, 35 degrees. Holding that straight up and that's good. Oh, I never tagged this. Not gonna work. Okay, so we need to tag the collider of the capsule as can be hit. So let's go to our. We need to name it. Let's name it training dummy. Okay, and then we'll go up here, the top right for tags, and then we're gonna add a tag, and it needs to be the exact name that we used before. So this can damage tag. So we'll make a new tag. And we'll label it can damage. Does it have tag in there too? Okay. Kind of bad. But whatever. We'll roll with it. Okay. So now that we have that, we can add it. It'll be in our list of tags. We'll tag it. I believe our collider needs to be set as is trigger. And that should be good. Let's try this. And let's hope that we get prints here. Please. It'd be so cool if we got this first try. I need to not hit my mouse or anything. Okay, ready? Or is it printing numbers? Okay, so I did like 4 or 5 light swings. I'm gonna do a harder swing. Okay, that was a fast one. I'm gonna do 3 fast ones. And then the last one's gonna be super fast. Is it calculating? Can damage is not defined. Okay, we have some naming conventions on the tags wrong. That's alright. If we got it to work first try, it would be. So let's go into our script and we'll take a look at the tags. So can damage tag. So maybe it is just can damage and this tag is just defining that it's a type of tag. No, that can't be right. There's something in here that's just can damage. Where is it? Can damage tag equals can damage. Okay, so it's storing the tag here into this as a variable. So it does just need to be can damage. Crash can damage. So let's edit our tags. Can we edit this? We'll just add a new one. We'll switch it. Can damage. We need to delete the old tag or I'm going to go nuts. How do I delete this one? Okay, removed. Good. Okay, this has got the can damage tag. All right, let's try again. I have a feeling we still lights, hard, Hard. Oh my god, we have velocity outputs. Okay. Damn, look at that too. Look at that. We got the light ones, 5 velocity, 5.5, and then those hard ones, we have those bigger values, 17.1, 24.8. Bam, 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 bam. Okay, awesome. So now we can use that data to generate stuff. How hard can I swing and it still calculates? Because, you know, VR has a hard time. The weapon just went. I'm wondering if it can calculate really high speed movements. I'm going to stand up for this and I'm going to swing fucking hard, okay? And I want to see how crazy we can get these numbers. And I want to know if there's a drop off, basically. So, not going to be able to hear me either. Fucking damn, we got a 40 on there. Okay, there were some inconsistencies. Maybe it's struggling. Hold on, I gotta stop the weapon from falling through the floor so I can keep picking. We did get a 40 though on velocity. This one in the middle, I don't know if it's because I swung lighter or if it was just choking. Because when objects move as fast as they do here, sometimes it's like, per frame, it's not actually calculating it exactly when it enters, because it can't calculate that, like, quickly. So, let me take a look at the movement. We want instantaneous movement. I think that's fine. We have some smoothing. Do we not have physics? We have gravity. We have a rigid body. Angular drag. I don't think we need any of that stuff. Okay, but it's working. It's actually working really well. Let me do some, I'm gonna do some light ones. I'm gonna do like a gradual build up of swings, and I just want to check its consistency. So let's do it again. Chat, keep an eye on those values. Sorry, I haven't read chat in a bit. 9 works for me. I'm just gonna get out on some stats homework. That sounds good, Chankla. You've been painting in VR, very nice. Oh, very cozy, Chankla. Yeah, it's working. Yeah, it's working. That's working really well. Okay. Oh. Okay, I did like 3 swings per at different speeds to check consistency. So I did 3 really light ones. So we got a 2, a 1, and then one of them maybe didn't register or just got a 6. And then I did 3 kind of medium speeds. That's the 5, 6, 7. Those are pretty in line with each other. And then I did 3 hard ones. We got a 14, a 28, and a 30. It looks pretty good. It looks really good. And yeah, it's having trouble with the super fast ones for sure. So I think that's fine. I was swinging like a maniac though. I don't know if I want to expect people to do that, but I think it's possible that having a larger collider will help with the fast ones. And let's just test that theory out. Let's make this a little bigger. Okay. I'm going to make him a big chongo. And then I'm going to do a few really fast ones. I'm going to throw my fucking shoulder out just swinging fast at this. All right, how are those values looking? A lot more consistent. Look at this. 37, 36, 37, 37, 49. We got a really hard one there. 39, 49, 34, 29. Way more consistent. It didn't detect a couple, but that was a lot better. Okay, good. That's good to know. Yeah, I should be counting how many I did. So we can fine-tune the detection a little bit later, but now that we have the base working, I'm pretty happy with that because we can start messing with damage now that we have velocity. Okay, so I need to pee. Success though, yay! Anymore. Sweet. Fucking beefy Timo. Thanks, Ree. Riva says, would you be able to just put your weapon collider in and out real quick, but not like a full swing to cheese the calculation? Yeah, probably. Watch. Which is good. Those are little things we need to account for. No, it didn't. Look at that. We only have one velocity. I was moving it in and out. Okay, so it is cheese proof, at least from that version of cheese. So that's very good. Wait, did I remove deeper? Oh no, my bot's just dead. Go ahead, do it again. Just didn't connect. Cool. Tiny progress. Okay, so now that that's working, let's go back to our ugly paint. Okay, so let's mark this. This part is done. Okay. Now we move on to the next. All right. So now we need to do this. So we need to actually calculate damage. So we need a player script that houses what our weapon skill is. Okay? So for this example, let's make a new script real quick because we have a few pieces we need to use for the calculation. So let's go to our player, which is this guy right here. And let's add an empty game object. And then we'll call it like player stats. Okay? And here we can house all the players' statistics. We're going to start off really simple. We're just going to put weapon damage in there, or weapon skill in there. So let's go ahead and open that. And in here, we just kind of need to do a start command. We can set some variables. Let's do public integer, and we'll call it we'll call it 1HS, one hand slash. We want things to be kind of not terrible to type out. Okay. And then on start, we'll just set a generic value here. We'll set 1HS equals let's just do 50. Okay. So we just instantly set that value, and we're going to use this integer later. How do we send it? I forget how to access another variable. Let me just ask ChatGPT. Okay. So this was good. Thank you, ChatGPT. So for Unity in C#, code the following. Whoops. Stop doing what you're doing. Yeah, I know. I didn't fill it out. It's going to yell at me. Create a script called player stats. Within it, set an integer called 1HS that can be accessed by other scripts to 50. Let's do a comma here so it doesn't get confused. Let me see what it does. Because I think it's just is it a global or a public? Okay, so it is just public variable. It just needs to be a public class. And then to access this variable from another script, it's even telling me, I love this, do int. Okay, and then we call the script name, and we do a period, and then we call which variable we want to access. Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. Excellent. Is it a public class? It is a public class. Player stats, boom, assigned. Okay, so we can get this. We can get this. Now ask it for a chicken recipe. You won't be disappointed. All right. Chat, give me the... Why am I calling it chat? Give me the best chicken recipe you can think of. Generate a chicken recipe. There you go. Enjoy your delicious and flavorful lemon garlic roasted chicken. Write it down, chat. Write it down. Okay. Ready? So we need to write this out somehow. Okay, so we have a variable. We've got the player stat listed. What do I need? I need this here. All right, so do we want to calculate where do we want to calculate damage? Probably we probably want to do that on the monster itself. So let's go ahead and get our base stuff set up for that. We'll use our training dummy. We'll add an empty game object here, and we'll call it enemy. What's my naming convention? Am I doing capital letters for everything at the beginning? Enemy stats. We'll add a script here. We'll call it enemy stats. And then we'll probably do everything within there. And then we can output the values to our console and move forward. So let's go ahead and get back to this. All right, so I need my script names too. What was our script thing? It was called like Weapon Collider. What's it called? Called Weapon Collider, because we need to grab the velocity from this script for our calculations. And we're going to be really specific with ChatGPT so we get answers that we want. I have too many windows open. Okay. So code the following for Unity in C#. Name the script enemy stats. Thomas, this is really cool to watch you do. I started learning some code a while ago, and just to see the capabilities is nuts. Yeah, it's really cool. And like definitely having a base understanding of coding is helping me streamline this a little bit better, because I can interpret most of the code and that way kind of figure out where stuff is going wrong. Even though I'm not the one technically writing it out, it's important to have like, you know, a base understanding of what's happening so you can troubleshoot and things like that. So we'll name the script enemy stats. How do I type this out? We need to be very clear and specific. So grab the velocity. I think it's a float, right? Did we make it a float or an integer? It's a float, isn't it? Velocity is a float, okay? So grab the velocity float located in weapon, in the weapon collider script. Assign it to a new variable called velocity. Wait, we need to call this specifically when something exits the collider? I need to write this out. Hold on, let's write this out. Because I need the flow and order of operations to be right. So, when do we want to calculate damage? It's when a velocity number was triggered. Which happens when something exits the parent game object's collider, right? So when parent collider with tag can hit when something exits the parent collider tagged can hit, then do the following. Okay. Okay, so that's pretty good. Oh gosh, is this right? Hold on. Oh, the order needs to be right here. You keep everything in one chat, I can reference past things in the chat. That is true. Let's do this. When do I want to grab this? We need an order of operation. This is wrong. So we need to do this first. So when something exits the parent collider tagged can hit, then do the following. Grab the velocity float located in the weapon collider script, assign it a new variable called velocity. Then perform the following if statements. So if the velocity is, what do we want to set our threshold at? What were our light swings hitting at? If the velocity is less than we need to set a no damage value. Let's say less than 7. Then do then set the damage value damage, set a variable, set a float variable. Do we want floats? We want integers for damage, right? No, we can use a float for now. Then set a float variable named damage to one. Okay. And then if velocity else, if velocity is, we want like a range. If velocity is between 7 and, no, we don't want to do that. We want a multiplier. We want like a curve multiplier to damage. Let's forget that and just do hold on, my brain's functioning. Okay, that sounds good, Chankla. What's up, Salmonator? Hold on, I gotta think. We need to grab the weapon damage too. Hold on, let me set the weapon damage so I don't forget. Where do I want to put the weapon damage? Probably on the player stats. Let's do public. I think we're just going to do int weapon damage. And we'll assign it to... Let's just say this one does 5 damage, this weapon we have. Okay. Okay, good. So we need to grab that from player stats. Is there a player stats? Player stats, okay. Making sure the naming is right. I think we don't need to set damage here. We need to do a multiplier. The less than is good. We want to just set it to 1. Or we do a value between 0 and 2 as a multiplier. I gotta think about this. Because we basically need to do this calculation. Base damage times damage bonus equals damage dealt. Right? I need to generate this curve, this value curve. And I'm not sure... I'm not sure how to do that. Because it's definitely like a... I think it's a cotangent calculation. And we just grab the positive values on the curve. It needs to be rotated to the right like this. My brain's dying. My brain's dying. How can I lasso in my brain to get this to work? I think if we have the base equation working and making sense, then we're good. Base damage times damage bonus, but what equals damage bonus? We need the damage bonus calculation. So damage bonus equals velocity multiplier times base damage. Maybe we call this velocity bonus. Velocity multiplier times base damage. And then how do we calculate? Let's keep defining these things. And then velocity multiplier equals velocity times so what do I think an average swing is? So just a 1-to-1. If your velocity, what's an average swing? It's like 15? 15 velocity? Probably. Let's do a range from like I'm running out of space here. Let's do... I'm going to draw a long arrow to some blank space. So if we have a velocity scale from 0 to... What do we think the highest end that people can hit? What did I pull? Did I get a 60 in there? Let's just do 0 to 50. Okay. 0 to 50. And then a 15. God, that seems crazy. A 15 is here-ish, right? On the scale. And that should be 100% damage multiply. So you do exactly as much damage as you should at 15. Should it be 15? Maybe it should be 20. Let's do 20. At velocity 20, we'll do 100% weapon damage. Which means I need to figure out the distance between 0 and 20. Right? And then calculate a percentage from 0% to 100%. Right? And that's an easy equation, right? That's just 100 divided by 20, which is what, 5? My brain dead? So you get 5% per 1 velocity. Is that right? I think that's right. So 5% per velocity. And then from here, from 20 to 50, so this gap from 20 to 50 is a value of 30. So there's 30 numbers in between here. And then how much extra damage do we want to do? 200% at max? We'll try 200%. So from 100% to 200%, that's 100% we need to deal with in 30 numbers. So that's 100 divided by 30, right? So it's about 3.3% per velocity over 20. 3.3% per velocity over 20. Right? Okay, now how do I write this out in code? So velocity multiplier equals velocity. I need a new window. I need more space. Give me more space. How do I make this bigger? Zoom out. Oh, boom. All of a sudden we have more space. Okay, so if velocity is between 0 and what was it, 20? Where's my scroll bar? Hello? Yeah, so if velocity is between 0 and 20, then velocity multiplier equals come on, brain, you can do this. Equals 5% per velocity. So 5% times velocity. No, we don't want that. We want it just a base value. So let's just do equals 5 plus, no, 5 times velocity. Okay, that works. And then if velocity is between if it's between 20 and 50, then velocity multiplier equals what? I need a base equals 100 plus the quantity of velocity times, or 3 times, 3.3 times velocity. Is that right? I think that's right. I think that's right math-wise. Because this will get us all the way up to, if velocity is 50, let's test this out. So if velocity is 50 on a swing, then it's going to do 100 plus the quantity, whoops, plus the quantity of 3.3 times 50, and that should get us really close to 200. Whoops, times 50? Why is that not right? We don't need the 100, do we? Ah, no, I'm doing something wrong here. Because we're not accounting for the... hold on. We're not accounting for the first 20 points here in velocity. Because you get 100% bonus. That's where that 100's coming from. If you're at 20. So we know we're at least at 20. So we add the 100% bonus. But we need to subtract 20 from velocity times the quantity. It's 20 to account for that. Is that right? I don't think that's right. Let me test it though. Okay, so 100 plus the quantity 3.3 times the quantity 50 minus 20. Boom, that's it. Okay, that's the right math. That's right at 200%. Just shy, because we have 3.33. If we keep doing this, repeating, 3.333, it'll be even closer to 200. Okay, so this is right. This is the right math. Which means, if my math is right, we should see... I wish I could edit this. I need a better calculator. So 100... Let's say velocity is 25. It should just be barely over 100 if this math is right. 100 plus the quantity 3.3 times quantity, let's say 25. Velocity minus the 20. All closed. Enter. Perfect. Just slightly over 100%. Okay, so this math works. We got there. Now we just need to turn it into code. And that's just to calculate the velocity bonus. So this works. And this goes into the velocity multiplier. This is such a mess, this document. Okay, so velocity multiplier goes into here, which calculates the percentage of the base damage. I guess we should turn the velocity into a percent before we feed that value. Because we get a number, we just times it by... Whoa, why is my brain dying? How do you turn a number into a percent? Oh, it's been so long since I've done math like this. Convert number to percent. You just times it by... Or you divide it by 100. Right? Yeah, just divide it by 100. So then velocity multiplier equals velocity multiplier divided by 100. That'll give us that. Because if we take... Yeah, but this isn't a decimal, Wolf. These values that are coming out are big whole numbers, right? So 116.5. If I want to turn that into a percent this way, because you're right in talking about it your way, but it doesn't work for the number I have. If we divide it by 100, then we get our 1.165. That's a percent, which is our multiplier. So this is good. We want to divide by 100 here in our case. So we have the multiplier, and that gets fed in. This gets fed into the velocity multiplier. We can cancel this out. The velocity multiplier gets fed into this velocity bonus equation, which is going to multiply the base weapon damage with the velocity multiplier. So this works. And then we just need a chance to hit. We can test out the chance to hit stuff later, or I can just write it now. The chance to hit is going to be a curve. This one's going to be a little bit more annoying to figure out. But let's just get this working first, and then we'll worry about actual chance to hit. All right? All right. So I'm going to move this over. Can I even see it all? All right, so we need the velocity float located in the weapon collider script. Assign it to a new variable called velocity. Then perform the following if statement. If velocity is... Yeah, what's our cutoff? Oh, fuck, I forgot we had a cutoff. Well, I guess it'll just basically do 0 damage because the number will be so low. So we don't need to do this. If velocity is between 0 and 20, then set float variable called velocity multiplier to 5 times else if the velocity is between 20 and 50, then set velocity multiplier equal to 100 plus 0.3 times velocity 20. And then after this, We do after this, how am I gonna write this? One sec. Let me move my other screen. Where's my mouse? After this, we want to do assign a float variable called velocity bonus equal to velocity multiplier times base damage. But we need to grab another variable in here. Oh, fuck. Stop. I'm not ready. I didn't mean to do that. Hold on. Then do the following. Grab velocity, assign it to a new variable. Okay, we need to do another variable assigning here. Grab the weapon damage from the player stats script. And assign its value to a variable, an int variable labeled weapon damage. Let's call it base damage. Okay. So we grab that, and then we perform the if statements. Assign a float variable called velocity bonus that equals velocity multiplier times base damage. And then use debug.log to show the what do we call this? Let's call it actual or let's call it damage dealt. To show the damage dealt value. I think this is good. Let me make sure I didn't change what that weapon damage dealt. I think this is good. Let's see what it does. Bop. Here we go. I think our syntax is good. Let's see if I can convert it to code for us. Okay, so we have a public string, can hit tag, can hit. So it's going to check the collider. Good. This goes on enemy stats. Private void on trigger exit. Then we check all these things. So it's going to check the tag. And then weapon collider, weapon. Wait, what? Other.get component weapon collider if weapon is not equal to null. What is it doing here? Okay, so it's assigning a variable, the weapon collider variable, the weapon, other.get component weapon collider, if weapon is not equal to nothing. And then it's got our floats for velocity, which pulls from Weapon.velocity. That's not right. Oh, it's okay. It's grabbing the script here called Weapon Collider and assigning it a variable weapon, which then is used here. So we don't have to type the full thing out. Okay, no, this should be okay. Weapon.velocity. And then it looks at player stats, calls it player stats, and it's finding that script. And then an integer called base damage is grabbed from the player stats weapon damage script. That's good. And then we have our float, the velocity multiplier. Okay, it's just not assigned yet. And then we do if velocity is less than or equal to 0 and velocity is greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 20. So that's our range between 0 and 20. Then velocity multiplier equals, and then does the math. 5 times velocity. Perfect. Else, if the velocity is between 20 and 50, then we do this equation, which looks good. 3.3f, I think it's a float for repeating. I'm wondering why the f is there. I think it is just saying it's repeating. Else, velocity multiplier equals 0. I don't think we need the else statement. Oh, I guess it's default stating it to 0 if nothing's happening, which is fine. And then it calculates damage dealt, which equals velocity multiplier times the base damage. And then we print that out. Damage dealt is damage dealt. Okay. Let's see if this works. It looks good on the surface. There's a few things that look a little wonky, but this might be okay. Okay, so what are we calling this? This script goes into enemy stats. So let's open our enemy stats script. And we'll paste it. Okay. And we'll see if it works right out of the gate. First try, doubt it. But it looks close, if not on the dot. So let's stop. I guess we can print velocity out, and just to make sure that velocity didn't get fucked up from this. But it should be good. The base damage is 5. Wait, what? Oh shit, we got compiler errors. Invalid token 1 in class. Record struct or remember declaration. On line 7? Let me see what it's complaining about. So on line 7, on trigger exit collider other. But it's on the parent. So it's trying to look, what's happening here is it's trying to look for an on exit trigger on the collider that this script is assigned. But it's not. It's on the parent. And the parent's name is training dummy. So let's see if we can get this adjusted. On attach it to the enemy game object that you want to track hits for and make sure the can hit colliders. have the appropriate tag assigned in the inspector. Can we grab the parent collider for this? I guessed it doesn't need to be on its own. It can just be on the enemy itself. Alright, so let's move this script. Let's assign it just straight to the training dummy. So we're going to delete this empty game object. We're going to add the script here. Enemy stats. Why is there 2 of them? Alright, let me see if it complains now. It's clear. Did I not save it? Enemy stats. Enemy stats. Okay, that's named properly here. Can we clear these errors so I know that these are, it's still complaining about these? It's still complaining about invalid token 1 in class. Private void on trigger. Collider other. Other.compare tag can hit tag. Collider tag to check for hits. What collider do we want for this? We want weapon. I don't think it's defining the collider here for the weapon. Collider other. It's doing that here though. And other is .compare tag can damage tag. Hold on, my brain's processing. Let me read what else ChatGPT said about this. Where is it? To use the script, attach it to an enemy game object that you want to track hits for, and make sure the can hit colliders have the appropriate tag assigned in the inspector. The script will update the damage dealt every time a weapon collider exits the parent collider. The calculated damage will be logged. So it is grabbing the parent collider. Find object of type player stats. It's not liking this. Why? Private void on trigger enter. Private void on trigger exit. Collider other. That's all right. If other.compare tag. Can hit. Can damage. Can damage, can hit. Oh, fuck. What is it called? I think we just have a naming convention problem. It's can damage, not can hit. Okay, so let's find and replace. Find all can damage and replace it with replace with can hit. Replace all. Okay. Oh, fuck. Nope. Undo that, please. Enemy stats. This needs to change. From can damage. No, can hit to can damage, right? Yeah. No? Yes. Can hit to can damage. Replace all. Okay. Let me test that. Still complaining about the same thing on player stats. Oh, it's not even on. Wait, I'm dumb. The whole time it's complaining about player stats. I didn't put a colon here. My God. Fuck. I think I still needed to make those edits anyways. But I'm wondering if I can go back to putting it on a parent object. So let's do that. Create empty enemy stats. Let's remove the script from here. And we'll put it back on this. Okay. And I think we're good. It plays now. Okay, we fixed the errors. Did we? Maybe we didn't. Player stats is still complaining. What did I do wrong here? 1HS equals 50. Equals 5. It's complaining at line 9. Is it because I'm dumb and forgot that I need to assign these in here? I should just check at what line it's complaining. It's complaining at 12. So it doesn't like this. Maybe it doesn't like numbers. Am I declaring into private low the one hand slash? Maybe it wants that. You might not be able to put numbers in there, which means these can probably go back out. Let me double check. We done? We're complaining. So now enemy stats at line 15. Player stats cannot be found. Am I missing an assembly reference? So player stats, we're getting closer. Player stats was never assigned, was it? Was it? Player stats. Player stats. It's lowercase though. So the player stats equals find object of type. I think these just need to be lowercase. And then we do these as capitals. And we'll see if I can find that script now. Oh. I think we're good. It's playable. Now, does it work? Doubtful. But we don't know unless I swing this bad boy. Wish I could see. We making it. Okay, so what's break? I feel like maybe it's not grabbing the exit collider properly. So I'm just gonna quickly make a change. We'll remove the enemy stats game object and we'll just put it straight on what has the collider. I don't think it's finding the parent in the code. I didn't see anything that showed it was. So let's see if we can find out why with our limited knowledge. Okay, so enemy stats. I need to debug. Let's just add some debugging stuff so we can figure out if stuff is happening. So let's add a debug here. Debug.log. And then we'll just say weapon hit. Okay. Because I want to know if we're getting past this if statement to get into this juicy. Because if I know we're at least getting inside this if statement, I don't really have to look at much above this. Right? We got to narrow down where it's breaking. We'll do that. So no, never even. So it's struggling with recognizing on collider exit. So, and this did look wacky to me. What is this other? If other dot compare tag can damage tag. Let me just ask it to comment the code. You can see what it's doing. Damn, it's adding comments to like each section. Pretty wild. All right, so it's saying here it's checking for the collider for hits. It's going to check this tag, which is good. And then on trigger exit is called when something exits the collider. Which collider though? This is where I think things are getting wonky. What collider is it talking about? Collider tag to check for hits. Check if the exiting collider has the can hit tag. No. That's the problem. Get the weapon collider script attached to the exiting collider. Yeah, so we need to change this then. This line. Check to see if the exit collider has the can hit. If the exiting collider, or is it the object exiting the collider or the collider that's being exited? No, because it says exiting collider here. Check if the exiting collider has the can hit tag. No, we don't want that. We want it to have the like a weapon tag. So let's make one for the weapon. Let's tag this as I'll assign that tag. Do 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 do. Check if the exiting collider has the can hit tag. Wait. It's can damage, right? Yeah. So we need to change. It's pulling this variable. We'll find and replace that. We'll change can damage to weapon. Is that right? I think that's right. Because it needs to check. If I'm understanding this correctly, this should work. Do 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 do. Yes. What? Velocity, probably by adding a tag to the weapon. Okay, but the if statement is triggering and it's going all the way through for weapon damage. So progress, but we just broke something else in the process, which means we need to take a look at our weapon collider script. Weapon tag, weapon. Collider tag to check for damage. Wait, did I replace it across the board? Oh my god, I think I replaced it across the board. Across all these scripts. Can we undo? Yeah, it did. So let's save this. Oh, that's dangerous to find and replace. Alright, well now we know. Replace all. Okay. Save. $200. 780. Something's wrong. Going up every time? Okay. So it's doing math, but it's not doing the correct math. So let's take a peek. I think there's some extra adding to velocity that's happening. Did the first hit do good damage? Did the first hit look proper? 0 damage at 8 velocity. And then the second one hit way hard with the same velocity. So something's going wrong in our math here. So it's grabbing weapon damage, which is 5 still, right? Just make sure our player stats are right. Weapon damage is equal to 5. Okay. Float velocity multiplier. If velocity is between this and this, then velocity multiplier equals 5 times velocity. And we're getting the velocity. It's not being additive, right? No, it's not, because the velocity was good every time. That looks right. Else if velocity is greater than 20 and less than or equal to 50, then velocity multiplier is 100. Maybe it's this F. I don't know why this F is here. It can't be because the base damage isn't good. Because where's the final math? Damage dealt equals velocity multiplier times base damage. Oh, we never divided by 100 here. Do parentheses by. Can we do it like that? Because this will turn it into a percent, and then we multiply it to the base damage. That should be good. I think that was our problem there. Little hiccup on math. We did not convert to a percent when we needed to. So, let's see. Do we get... So we should get lower than 5 damage. Crash. Probably didn't divide right. Yeah, I fucked something up. Hello? Did it crash? Okay, so maybe we did need the F. Because this was saying it's a float. Okay. Are we good? Alright, baby, give me some damage numbers. We should be doing lower than 5 damage. If it's a light swing. Let me revisit the math. 20 velocity should be 100% damage dealt. Which should be 5 base damage. So what's happening here? Let's just work the math out ourselves. So 5 times velocity. So at 20, 5 times 20 gives us 100. So it should be velocity. So 100 should be divided by 100. Which is 1 times base damage. Is base damage changing? It's not, right? I don't understand. That should be good. Because velocity was 20. Maybe it's grabbing the past damage? Oh, I think it is. You know what? It's calculating out of order. How do I delay this a tiny bit? So that when it does grab the velocity value, it's grabbing the newest one. We could trigger this command Where? I could add a delay, but that's sloppy. I really should have this function get triggered when velocity is triggered. So we just want this to run. Instead of this if statement checking the collider, we could just make a function. I should save this somewhere though. Can we save as? Let's call it old or backup. Okay. And then, because we're going to make some edits to this, that might break it. Enemy stats. How do we call a function then? I forget. We want it to be a public void. And we can just give it a name, right? We can call it deal damage. And then we can get rid of these. Means I need to get rid of 2 brackets over here. I'm going to screw everything up. So now we just need to call this in the other script. On the collider, on the object that's getting hit. Public void deal damage. But we need to do that specifically on the weapon collider script. So we can call it here. It'd be better if this fed the information of velocity to it. I'm doing this pretty janky. Because if it wasn't a void and it can output the velocity integer. Let me see if I can just give this to him. Him being ChatGPT. So, can you adjust the code above so that just before the debug log, you send the velocity variable as an output of the function instead of it being void? That sends the velocity value. Oh, fuck. How do I say this? And runs the function damage. Is it damage dealt? Is that what I'm calling it? A deal damage. within the enemy stats that capitalize. I need to stick to a naming convention. I'm gonna drive myself crazy. Enemy stats script. Located on the collider being entered and exited. With. Oh god, I kind of worded that pretty bad. Let me see what he does though. And how much did he change it? This is looking a lot bigger. Okay, and here's the modified enemy stats script with the new deal damage function. What? Oh my god, he's changing it. Wait, this looks good. It just did the change for me. I didn't even have to. It's got some of the variables wrong because I had to rename them. Okay, is it actually calling it? Call the damage deal function in the enemy script with the calculated velocity. Dude, one of the casters took a shit and I'm dying. You are a stinky cat. Okay. So when it's done, it sends that. How much has this changed though? I need to compare these. Okay, so weapon collider. This is our old one. Can damage 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Looks good. It's changed. Private void start. Private enemy stats. Reference to enemy script. On the parent game object. But it's not on the parent game object. Private void start. Get the enemy stat script attached to the parent game object. Enemy stats equals transform parent get component enemy stat. Not. What up, Artelis? I'm just doing some prototyping for some VR stuff. Just to see if I can get it done. See if we can make some stuff work. So we're dealing with some code, some math that basically has velocity thresholds for damage and gives you a multiplier of your base weapon damage based off of swing strength, velocity of swing. And I'm just kind of fine tuning it, and then we'll test it, see if we get some good numbers. but this is changing things quite a bit. The enemy stat script is not attached to the parent game object. So this is already a big red flag. And damage tag, inside true, transform position, good, on exit. Does the calculation for the velocity, and then we want to send that data to enemy stats, deal damage, and feed it the velocity number. This part's good, but we just need to adjust this. Let me see if ChatGPT will adjust it for me. Can you adjust this line so that it what does it need to do? It needs to grab the game object of of what's being hit. So that it... Let me see if I can explain it to ChatGPT. The enemy stat script is not on the parent game object. It's on a separate game object. Specifically, the game object that the weapon is colliding with. Let me see if it'll edit it for me. So you can modify the code to search for the enemy stats component on the collided game object instead of the parent. Here's the modified code. Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted. And let's see if what it generated was actually right. We'll dig through it. Isn't it insane, Arliss? We're gonna use it to help prototype quickly. So this is tagged weapon, this is tagged can damage. So can damage and weapon. So can damage. Let's see. Private void on trigger enter collider other. And our collider other. This should be good. Enemy stats. From the collided game object. So that should be good. And then note that the enemy stats variable is now assigned on the onTriggerEnter method by getting the enemy stats component from the collided game object using other component. Yes, the calculate damage method is called on the enemy stats object to calculate the damage using velocity, and the velocity and damage attribute values are logged using debug log. Where is it sending that, though? I don't think it's sending it anymore. Enemy stats. That looks good. Enemy stats. Dot deal damage. Velocity. We want to call this function. Okay, let me start copying and pasting this stuff, and then we got to make a few adjustments. Let's save Let's save this as a backup in case we fuck everything up. Okay, so we're going to take this new weapon collider script, and then we'll take our new enemy stats script. And we need to add our divided by 100s here. Velocity multiplier divided by 100. Oh, good. And then we did can hit or can damage for our naming convention. We did, I always forget, can damage. So can damage tags are in here. We need to replace can hit to can damage. Yes. And then we have our divide by 100 right here. Yes, good. Okay, and this is a public void deal damage. Good. And it can feed in a float, a value, which we're doing the velocity. And then we're checking that velocity and then assigning it to a velocity multiplier. It's crazy, isn't it, Arliss? It works really well. You still have to have like a base understanding of like what you're looking at, but yeah. Oh, fuck. I didn't save a backup for the enemy stats. It should be fine. I think I have a backup for it. I actually don't want to edit this one. Don't save. We want to edit. Doo-dee-dee-dee-dee-doo. We want to edit the regular enemy stats, not the backup. And the regular weapon collider, not the backup. Okay. Okay, good. So the weapon collider sends the floats and runs calculate damage. Under enemy stats. Deal damage, calculate damage. Hold on. Wait, something's wrong here. Get component enemy stats from the collided object. Good. If inside, only calculate velocity if the weapon collider was inside the can damage collider, right? But we need it on exit. I think we're going to get weird numbers now. On trigger exit. Okay, no, this is good. This is good. Do we need this if inside? I feel like we don't. Because we're already checking on exit. We'll leave it and test it, but... Okay, so we get the exit position, we get the exit time, we get the time inside equals exit time minus entry time, which gives us a velocity calculation of our distance, exit position, entry position divided by time inside. This is calculating the distance between these two positions and then dividing it by time. This gives us velocity. And then float damage dealt equals enemy stats dot. So it can calculate the damage here. But it's calling the wrong thing. Damage dealt equals enemy stats dot calculate damage. This needs to be named deal damage. Is it calling that function anymore? Deal damage. And then it feeds it the velocity stat that we calculated. And then it'll tell us the velocity and damage dealt. And we don't have a debug log in here, right? Call the deal weapon damage function with the calculated velocity. Deal damage. Calculate damage dealt. And then log it to console. So it is logging it to console. Let's comment that out. This is called when it exits the collider. Weapon collider, yes. Damage null. Call weapon damage. Velocity. I don't think we need this last part. Because we don't need to check if something exits the collider anymore, because we're doing all those checks in our weapon collider. We're just telling it to calculate the damage here based off of the velocity. I don't think we need to check for this anymore. I'm going to comment this whole thing out. Up to, what do we need? We need up to here. Commented. Let's see. This goes all the way down. This encapsulates this. We don't need this one either. Okay. I think this will work. I gotta pee. We'll test it. Okay, let's try. I probably broke everything. Everything that was working before is now going to be broken. We already got compiler errors. All right, let's dig through them. What are they? So, asset, enemy, stats, backup. Already contains a definition, enemy stats. Oh, did it? Not. Player stats. Player stats is there. I guess I have to move the whole thing out of the project as backup scripts. Hold on, let me do that. Quick second, black screen. I'm gonna make a new folder. I'll put it in documents. Backup scripts. So let's just move these puppies out. Bimo! Okay, so we'll take these two, the backups. And let's just get them out of here. Okay. And let's see with doing that. Okay, we have other compiler errors. Let's see. Asset weapon collider CS error cannot implicitly convert void to float. Oh, we have meta files left over. I need to dig through where these scripts are. Can we open this file location? Fuck. I don't see the backup meta data. I just see the regular one. Enemy stats, player stats, weapon collider. Collider. I think maybe we just need to adjust this one. So line 36. Line 36 is complaining about enemy stats.deal damage velocity, but it's a void. We have to change the void to I just want to output the this can be a void, right? It's just this one needs to not be. Yeah, this can't be void. It needs to be we want to output damage dealt. You know, we don't need to calculate it there. Let's log it here. So we can actually just, I think, get rid of this here. We just need to call that other function here that calculates the damage. This one. Deal damage, weapon velocity. We need this. And then we can get rid of this. We output the velocity, and then we output, we do the deal damage script, so it should run it. And feed it the velocity. Deal damage, float, fed velocity. Okay. Deal damage does not exist. And that's on line 3517. Is it because we need to grab the script first? Because we haven't defined it anyway. Deal damage, weapon velocity. Enemy stats. Dot deal damage. See if that fixes it. Wait. Oh. Not telling me what compiler errors I have now. Be clear. The name weapon does not exist in the current context. Enemy stats.deal damage. Do we just feed it velocity? Enemy stats, deal damage, velocity. I think we just feed it velocity. I don't know why weapon was there to begin with. Is it good? It's playable now. Does it do what I want? Probably not. But let's find out. $20 damage or 25 5 damage. Something's going wrong with the hits are doing no damage. Hit it drastically more damage. So 31 velocity. Slightly off. Okay, let's check the math. So all of our numbers that are very close to each other, 7.3, 7.1, our damage should be really close. 14 damage, 14 damage. No, sorry. 7 damage dealt with 14 velocity, 7 damage dealt with 14 velocity, 7 damage dealt with 14 velocity. Okay, so it's being consistent. There's not weird stuff happening. But the numbers aren't right. With 14 velocity, we should be doing sub 5 damage. So let's just double check the math. Okay. So if velocity, we're feeding it the float velocity, and then it's checking that number, okay? And then it's assigning the velocity multiplier between 0 and 20 to 5, if velocity is between 0 and 20, 5 times velocity. So if we pull out our calculator and we double check the math here. So let's find a damage number. Okay, so we have 14 velocity. So we go 14 0.3 for velocity times 5 is 71 divided by 100 gives us a 0.715 multiplier to our 5 weapon damage, which should be 3.5. So something's breaking there. It's doing this part right, it looks. And then it's checking if the range is between 20 and 50, which gives us a big boost over 100% damage. So 100 plus the float of 3.3, repeating is velocity minus 20. It should be good. But here something weird's happening. Float damage dealt equals velocity multiplier divided by 100 times base damage. What's our base damage? Oh, why did it set a base damage value? This is why. It needs to grab the player stat for weapon damage. Okay, so that's the right math then there. Let me set it to 5 and see if our math numbers get right. But it should be grabbing weapon damage from the player stats. Which... we just need like a find game object. Where's my backup? Enemy stats. Player stats, player attacks, find game object, base damage right here. We need this. Find game object of type player stats. And then we have the int base damage equals player stats dot weapon damage. We want that instead. And we want that to be checked. We want that to be checked. Basically, every time it deals, it does the calculation. So just before this. So player stats equals player stats find object int base damage is that. Okay, so now it should grab the base damage from the player stat so that when they switch weapons and that number changes, it can update here on the fly. Let's grab it. Let's save it. Let's try it. Okay. Good. 10 velocity. Good. Try and hit get up and swing. Oh, you're trying to figure out what I'm swinging at? Oh, yeah. I have just a little, like, pill training dummy. All right, let's take a look at the math, the numbers here. Let's see how they're doing. So, what did I start off with? All right, well, let's work backwards. I threw the weapon at the end. 17 velocity, 4 damage. These were, like, medium swings, so good. We're doing base damage. A little bit of a bonus on damage there with a 31 velocity. We get 6 with almost 7 damage with a base weapon damage of 5. And then I did some kind of average swings. And those average swings are hitting around 17 to 19, so maybe I lower the threshold a bit. I think that's good, though. And then where are my hard swings at? Boom, 33 velocity, that did 7.1 damage. We got a little multiplier from that. 45 velocity, we hit for almost double damage. That's at 9. 26, ooh, we got a 49 velocity. That's a 9 damage. I almost think we should open the upper cap. Just in case someone swings harder than 50 velocity, because I have a like a upper limit kind of set. So we can add in here the else if. So let's add another else if statement here. So else if velocity is if it's greater than or equal to 50. So if someone swings harder than 50 velocity, we'll just set a flat damage multiplier where it's basically, it does 200% damage. Okay. So we do that. And then inside, let's do our brackets here. Curly. So else if velocity is over 50, I don't want it, because it's basically registering 0 damage if you do over 50 velocity, because I'm not accounting for anything over that, because it's kind of insane. We'll just go ahead and set the velocity multiplier equal to 200, and that should work. It's fine. Else if we reset it to 0, if it meets none of those conditions, and then we do the damage. So at a full velocity swing, let's double check the math. It should be, if we follow the equation here, right here. So our velocity multiplier over 50 velocity is 200. So 200 divided by 100 puts us at a multiplier of 2, as we do that number times the base damage, which was 5, so 10. So we can only ever do double the base weapon damage, even if you swing like an insane psycho. I think that's good. I think I'm happy with this. It's actually working. So let's recap real quick what we got going. We have basic movement relative to the headset's display and forward. So we have regular sliding or continuous movement, whatever they call it in VR, right? We have grabbables and pickupables. We have anchor points, so we can set hilts and angle of rotation of picking things up. We have physics on throwing things. And we have our base damage calculators for swinging based off of velocity. So velocity on damage dealt, which helps prevent all Wii-wanding, because even if I Wii-wand... Wait, what? How did I break something? $23? Oh, I just spelled it wrong, huh? What? Am I blind? How did I spell this wrong? VELOCITY MULT IPLO. Okay, just spelled my variable wrong. So even if you Wii Wand, you'll basically do 0 to 1 damage. Like, you'll pretty much do 0 damage, because we'll round the damage down if the damage is sub 1. We could add a few more things to it, but like to help with like useful. So like Wii Wanding me. So if I do this, you can see the damage numbers getting output are 0.1. So if we just round to the nearest integer, or just say anything below. Even if I swing it kind of hard, that's going pretty. It's still doing sub. Sometimes I can get a good 4 in there, but it's. They do wider swing, which are pretty hard. But that's where we just add that's the next thing is adding like basically attack speed on weapons, so that if you attack earlier than your weapon allows for on that attack speed, then it does, right? So you'll have to time your strikes to wait for the delay, then go in, get the swing off, and then that allows us to have different weapons that have different delays. Like you could do daggers that have really short delays, and they can do like quick stabs because they're more designed for that. Lower damage but faster hit rate. And then you can do really slow weapons like two-handers, like a two-handed sword, a claymore. Very long delay, but hits much harder, etc., etc. So I think we have some base stuff for like good damage recognition from Melee. Now, all the physics stuff and like people getting hit and animations getting applied based off of angle of hit, yes, that's all fancy visual stuff that's done later. We need to make sure the core math and mechanic works, and then you can make things flashy later. It's really important. Don't focus on the artwork and all that other stuff until you have core stuff working. Because you want to make sure the core thing is fun and works before you like spend all this time like, you know, making art assets, which take arguably the longest thing to do. So just throw a pill in. This is my sword. It's just a fucking rectangle. It's all we need to do testing. We have a fake mock-up enemy, because all I have to do later now, if I do want to make this pretty, is then I can just model an actual enemy that looks nice, and I just have to put the enemy script stat on it, and it'll calculate all the damage and do everything. So we know that base stuff works before we move forward. And that's going to be it for me on the stream. I actually had a lot of fun doing this. We made some good progress. Let me know if you want to see more of this. I kind of enjoyed it. Like, I'm learning too. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't know a fuck ton about this stuff. I'm just kind of prototyping. We have our big mess. We started off just getting things on paper on how it would work and how we'd calculate stuff. So we drew this little dummy, and we're just like, how do we calculate velocity, right? If we want to measure damage. So we have our stick, and we just kind of drew it out and made sure it made sense on paper before we turned it into code. So we have our little stick, and we say, okay, we need 2 points to measure to get a distance, okay? Because to calculate velocity, it's distance divided by time, or vice versa, I forget. So we need 2 points. How do we calculate 2 points? Well, we have a big collider, this box, right? And when the sword enters, boom, we can measure that point, right? We can say, all right, save that point in time in a variable, and we're going to use it later. And then as the sword passes through, it's going to exit at some point. Boom, save that point. Now we have 2 points of distance, or 2 points in space. And to calculate distance, we just subtract the entry from the exit. And boom, we get a number. We get a distance traveled, okay? And then also we need time. So on the same enter, when the sword enters, boom, we notate the time, okay? And then when it exits, we notate the time. We subtract those two values, and then we have how much time was spent between these two distances. And that's all you need to calculate velocity. So we take those points, we kind of just write it down generically. So sword on collide enter, we wrote this down, start timer, set start measurement point, and then on exit of the collider, end the timer, and set the end measurement point. And then we measure the distance between those 2 points in order, and then the time elapsed between the 2 points, calculate the velocity, and then we kind of generically wrote out how we want velocity to work. We were just kind of prototyping like little to no damage if certain, different numbers in velocity. So we figured that out. And then over here, we figured out how to do like, how to calculate how much bonus damage we're going to do. We just kind of work it out in our head. So if we have a base weapon damage, actually, no, that was down over here, huh? Yeah, because we knew our damage wanted to be, our damage dealt should equal the base damage of the weapon times whatever the damage bonus is. But it's like, what is the damage bonus? Well, we figured we wanted it to be a multiplier between 0 and 2. So you could do 0 damage, or you could do up to double damage, right? A 0 multiplier brings it to 0. A 2 multiplier will double the base weapon damage. And then we figure out like how to calculate that. We define these equations, and then we write it in code. So the velocity multiplier, we went over here and figured that out and just kind of wrote it out. And so just start out on paper, just write stuff out, struggle through it. We're going to need to make some cosine or cotangent curves for weapon skill and hit chance. We're going to save that for later. So this still needs to be done. We'll save it. And that way we can add into the equation that not every hit is guaranteed. I know that sounds weird in VR because it's like, dude, my weapon went through it, but I kind of want to implement traditional like RPG and MMO stuff to see what it feels like. Because then the higher your weapon skill, the longer you use a specific type of weapon, the higher your weapon skill can be, and you can get maybe some damage bonuses off of it because of that, and hit chance bonuses off because of it. And it might be kind of cool to play with. So we'll deal with the weapon skilling up later and how that works. It's basically just going to be a % chance for your weapon skill to go up by 1 point. Depending on a successful hit or a miss, they'll have different values, and we'll figure those out and assign them and test them and see how it works. And then we'll set the % chance to actually successfully land a hit based off of that number. So, yeah, that was today's prototyping. And then we're going to do magic at some point, okay? Magic's going to be really fucking hard because I want to do something unique, having 3 doffed positional tracking, and not just be like press a button to cast a spell. It needs to be like a motion or something more intricate. That's going to be very difficult, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Just getting the base melee stuff working is kind of cool. I'm glad you had fun, Ree. You like listening? Even made you subscribe? What? Did I miss a sub? Are my notifications not working? Okay, yeah, we'll do more of this another time. I gotta head out though. I'm already like 7 minutes past. I'll see you all later. Thanks for hanging. Reese says, I love that you can talk so much about this. It's really intriguing to see all that goes into a game. We look forward to more. Yeah, it's fun, like, I don't know, like base problem solving skills. It's like, how do I do something that seems simple in concept, but how do I describe it so specifically that we can make it work in code? Yeah. Math is important. We need math to do all these basic things and calculate all these basic things that seem simple. And I think it's really cool. I enjoy it. All right. Have fun, everybody. Do something you enjoy today. Lurkers, chatters, VOD watchers, I see you. And I appreciate you. And I'll see you again another time. Oh, yeah, this was like, I usually work today, but someone picked my shift up because I'm trying to get off of working Tuesdays. It's literally the worst day to work at my workplace. So eventually I'll always have Tuesdays off, but it's probably going to take a week or two to get it consistent. So that's why there was a stream today. Expect a stream tomorrow and the next day. I don't know what we're doing yet. Maybe we'll take a day for me to just play EverQuest all day. I always still feel bad playing that fucking game, but I think I need to just kick it because I enjoy it. And we'll do more of this stuff because doing this live on stream helps me like continue to push myself and work on it for like an extended period of time. Like we spent 3 hours and 47 minutes today on it. Whereas probably if I was doing this off stream, I would be like an hour in and like then getting lazy and wanting to take a break. So yeah. It was fun. Bye. I'm leaving. I'm bad at saying bye. So I'm just going to say bye. I'm going to hang up right now. No, you hang up. No, you. You hang up.